do your own research, and enough with the thoughts and prayers. No more thoughts and prayers. Let's get some action behind that. Either one. I would take either one over this asshat clown that we have at 1600 right now.
This is Tiffanie Talks with Tiffanie Lanelle.
You're listening to part 2 of a special coverage episode of Tiffanie Talks. So make sure you've already listened to the first part of this episode. I do want to answer this question because I think it's a good one, and it's one that we both, I think, get pretty frequently. What are some Thank you for your question, Camille. What are some strategies that community organizations can use to communicate to the masses what will really happen before their constituents are reelected and these changes go into effect in 2026?
Really good
I think
question.
This is a very, very good question because there's a balance, right? There are some things that are a bit dangerous. Like, for example, when Project 2025 was first becoming viral, and I kept seeing a bunch of, workshops or, little one-pagers pop up, top 5 things you need to know about Project 2025. And I'm like, you can't put this into the top 5 things. Like, I know we have a short attention span, and also there were way more than 5 things. You needed to have a series of one-pagers. But also there is some preventative work. So I say this is an important question because we're in 2025 now. The work should have already started. And if you haven't already started it, it needs to start like immediately. There is one of my biggest concerns and issues with the Democratic convention is they're not proactive enough. They tend to be very reactive. And so as organizations, as organizers, I'm an organizer myself, we have to and should be more proactive with what we are doing and how we're hitting the ground and how we're getting information out, right? So, for example, there was a bill here during the last legislative session in the Georgia state legislature that would have made it so that if you supported or helped anyone get reproductive access or abortion care, then you could be charged with a felony. Well, we showed up at the Capitol. It was too late. They were having a committee meeting and it was past sine die and all of that anyway. So we showed up in full force. People drove from out of state. It was a whole thing. Saying that to say, we know it's going to come back up next year. And so organizers are already talking about how can we get into these communities with the representatives who supported this bill and get the information out to them. We're talking about that now. We've been talking about it since the committee meeting happened. So in answer to your question, Camille, because I'm sure it's one that many have about what do you say as an organization, what do you say to the masses of what will really happen? You got to break it down into chunks and make it digestible, but don't just stop at the top 5 or the top 10 things you need to know about the big, beautiful bill, right? Because you're going to miss some things. So it has to be, maybe it's a series of one-pagers, right? Maybe it's a series of community town halls where you bring in certain subject matter experts who work in taxes, who work in the economy, who work in healthcare, who work in safety net programs, and you bring in subject matter experts who can break down these policies, and you just have a series of one-pagers, a series of materials, a series of town halls, and you get that information out as much as possible. Rinse and repeat. Like, once is not enough. You have to keep doing it. It has to be proactive and it has to be digestible, but it can't be top 5, top 10. It has to keep going, and it has to be detailed, but it has to be broken down in a way that different people coming from different vantages and perspectives can find what their entry point is. They may not care about Medicaid or Medicare, but they care about SNAP, or vice versa. So you have to have different perspectives in your materials and in your talking points and messaging and organizing methods so that you can hit a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
100%. Camille, thank you for your question. And I would also say, shout out to my auntie. Hey, Aunt Gail. I would piggyback off of your answer here as well. I think one thing that you can say to people that refuse to vote, and often this is 2 things: disillusionment, and that disillusionment runs deep. So I never say that this is an open and shut situation, because it won't be. It will have to be something that you work on individual people and some people that you build relationships with. It'll be harder to especially canvassing, but it's harder to get people in masses or people that you're not in relationship with that have this stance to see, unless with those people you need to make things ultra local. So take national, take state, even take your local county away and start to talk about the things that are. I remember a couple of years, maybe a decade ago, I remember my brother moved to South Atlanta for a while, and he was down there. He had a real issue with the grocery stores having like food that wasn't fresh, selling expired food and bad vegetables. And he's like, I don't understand. I never had this experience when I lived on the north side. And he's like, I don't get why that is. Well, that can be addressed, right? For an issue like that is not just about the business. The issue about that's a community issue that's wide ranging. And that's when you go and you start to look for those local representatives. Sometimes the people that don't want to vote is because they don't know that they can vote for their local city councilman. They don't know they can vote for their local alderman. They don't know that there are people that are in their sphere of influence, people that may pop up at church services when it's voting time, or people that they know that have been down at some restaurant, or some people that they've seen in the community and had no idea that person can change the trajectory of what is happening and how it's happening. And it's important to get that information to those people. And politics is local. Everything begins local. When you start to transform your local community and participate in your local community, things start to change around you. When things start to change around you, those people are more emboldened to even want to participate in something that can change things for everyone. And the larger that you go, we get hyped up and psyched up into these national elections for good reason. We have elected a monster multiple times, and it seems like we will keep doing that. But on that question, I think it's really important just to focus. And people that just ultrally refuse, I do think it's just because they haven't seen that change. And going back to when I used to discuss this in Atlanta, I used to focus on a certain neighborhood. We call it Old Nat. But Old National Highway has looked the exact same since I was like 10. And it will continue to look the same. The people in that area, and I don't understand why. It is it is south of Atlanta. The same type of money that's flowing through the rest of the city is available to flow there, and it doesn't. Why? And the people there aren't asking questions because they're disillusioned to the fact that when they do vote, nothing changes. And so those people that are there right now, they have to go, and they got to go. Tiff, you're stuck on that, but they got to go. And until we're able to affect that, I think that we'll find ourselves in these cycles, and hold your leaders accountable, so that your community leaders, your neighborhood leaders, the people that are leading in your community, they shouldn't be leading if they don't have a vision for ensuring that things get better. And I don't know how we come back from that.
I don't either, actually. But that was a great question, and no notes. No notes.
What I am not is disillusioned. So I think that I have intentionally tried to say less, because in an environment and an ecosystem where everybody is on all the time, people are stuck to media. I am so frustrated with people just performing for phones all day long. I am at the I don't usually have much to say, but we're at a point to where, like, I will tell you that it is too late. You can't make any changes to what's just happened.
Right.
It's too late for that, right? So now, instead of trying to say, "Well, what can we do?" What we have to stop being is reactive.
Yeah.
So one thing, and I know we got to move on to the next topic, but I'll use this analogy in tech, and I've used it when I've cleaned up, done digital transformations and different technology transformations over the years. I always lead organizations are in bad shape because they are always trying to remediate, or they're trying to repair, or they're trying to be in a support mode all the time. And it costs money to get ahead of that. So before you can be in a place that you don't have to deal with big outages and being down all the time, you get healthy. You get healthy by establishing a group that is doing proactive remediation, right? So you're fixing the problems ahead of time. Then you also have to pay people to maintain a healthy environment. So it's expensive because you can't. It's more expensive when you're paying for the last one, when you're always paying for support. It's broken, and now you're down and you're losing money, and you're frustrated and everyone's upset. But had you spent a little bit more money to get proactive, a little bit more money to maintain your health, you have to do less support on that end. That analogy works for this as well.
Yeah.
Like, without being proactive, we're going to be in support mode all the time, trying to help people navigate hell. That's all.
And that's really what, at the end of the day, number one, a lot of the cases and things that Trump and his administration have done have been to try and break the system, right? Some of it has been for distraction purposes. Some of it has been because they want to bog down the court systems. So our show the other day, we talked about some of the Supreme Court opinions that came down on Friday. One of those being that universal injunctions is now no longer a thing. That is going to create so many hurdles in our court systems, both federal circuit courts, lower courts, Supreme Court. Like, it's going to create a lot of hurdles, because now if folks want remedy, they're going to have to do a class action lawsuit, which has to get certified. Like, it's a whole legal long process for that to happen. So some of these actions, some of these things are to try and break the system. Mind you, we don't have a great system to begin with. Like you said earlier, our Constitution is old. Yes, we have amendments, 27, depending on who you ask, 28, depending on if you ask other people. But there are amendments, but it doesn't change the fact that nowhere in our Constitution do you have to have an educational requirement to be in any of the offices within the 3 articles that we mentioned earlier. Not in Article 1, not in Article 2, and not in Article 3. You don't have to have any level of education at all to be the president of the United States, to be a congressional leader, to be on the Supreme Court, to be in a federal. There's any of those elected.
Honestly, you don't need education for much. You don't need to be a doctor to run the Department of Health and Human Services, to talk about helping people navigate healthcare and determine who and what where we should be using vaccines. You don't need credentials, apparently. Honestly, and again, we are still. I'm still reeling from the fact that we elected for the second time someone that is now a convicted felon. Because it doesn't stop at him being the president. A convicted felon is the commander of the military.
He's got the football. And I can't say what that is right now, but just Google federal football, okay? And that is who y'all put into office again. And that goes for every office. Like, I thought Betsy DeVos was a terrible choice for Secretary of Education during his first administration. And then he selected Linda McMahon for this term.
Here's the thing. You thought that she was bad in good faith. And hear me. You thought she was bad in good faith just on the surface. Not because she's the brother of an organization. It's wide ranging. It's just wide ranging. Up and down, these people are terrible. I'm watching this time, so I'm gonna push this. I'm gonna push this along.
Okay. Thank you. Because we could do all of this.
We can,
I'm just going to go through some of the other healthcare impacts from this bill. We talked about the work requirements changing. Able-bodied adults 19 through 64 would need to complete 80 hours per month of work, volunteering, or receiving job training in order to maintain Medicaid, or you risk being removed from Medicaid. There are exemptions for parents with children under 14, but just a note that also is going to come with some different eligibility requirements. So states are going to have to recertify eligibility every 6 months, right? There are some different fees and things that they are including with that. So Georgia already did
let me say that in layman's terms
here, and it did not go well.
I want to say that in layman's terms. Recertifying for your benefits every 6 months. And maybe that was not the practice. Most likely it wasn't.
Probably not in your state, no. No.
If you have to recertify every 6 months, that means that at 5 months you may have trouble. Like, just think about it. You guys know. You already know. You know what it's like. You stood in line somewhere for something. That line just got twice as long, maybe 3 times as long. That's the design.
Probably.
You want some help? You're going to need a lawsuit. You're going to need a lawyer. Like, there's no longer, they've shut down the consumer agencies that you can call because what happened? Like, this bank froze my funds. This bank doesn't want to work with me because the bank gave the administration $1 million to go to the inauguration and stood behind this president, and so that he could get rid of things that protect you. And so this was all a game. All of the even the bamboozle mint, that's not a word. The choice to bamboozle you into championing billionaires, being enamored by billionaires. The billionaire that most people can name his name because they drive his cars. This man made all his money from government contracts.
Literally.
But the legislation was built that way. How long did you wait to get denied for the government grant or contract that you tried to get for your small business?
Right. I'm
going to say something at the end of the show, that is going to surmise my thoughts. But if I say it now, we will get derailed. So
okay, hold it.
I'm gonna hold it.
So those are the work requirements. They also are banning any trans care, gender affirming care from using Medicaid or CHIP funding. CHIP is Children's Health Insurance Program. They are banning that. They are also creating barriers for immigrants. There will be a 5-year wait for green card holders, stricter eligibility for undocumented immigrants. And as someone said on one of the shows I was watching earlier, undocumented immigrants also pay taxes. That's another show. But I just want to drop that right there.
And people, how could they do that? Because they take them out of their check.
That's why I said that's a whole other show. So I'm gonna just put that in the bucket there. 5-year wait for green card holders excludes Planned Parenthood funding under Medicaid, which is a very, very, very big deal. Okay. Nearly 200 clinics, especially in states that are still providing legal abortion care, would lose federal funding. That is just Medicaid, healthcare, SNAP cuts. And so this, of course, puts rural hospitals at risk. They are estimating 51,000 extra deaths each year due to the drop in healthcare access. And honestly, that's probably a low estimate. That's probably on the low end.
It's just insane.
Yeah. So that's one section, and that's us summing it up. So there's a plethora more. We still have to hit a couple other sections. Y'all can keep your questions coming. They are definitely good ones. And yes, every 6 months is crazy. I don't disagree with that at all. So Medicaid health is
the cruelty is the point.
Yes. The cruelty and the hassle is the point.
That's the point.
It's got to be made more difficult.
That's the point.
For D&I and LGBTQ, of course, there's going to be even more rollbacks for DEI and LGBTQ plus. Training banned federally, and we've already seen some of those impacts, right? I've seen a plethora of threads and people on social media saying, I had a contract to do cultural sensitivity training. It's been canceled. So all of that banned federally. Anti-CRT, critical race theory language. Go ahead.
I think that where there is error often in politics surrounding anything that doesn't have to do with I'm trying to choose my words carefully. Status quo.
Good luck.
Status quo politics. So we talk about identity politics, and there's been a lot of critique of the Democrats in the last election, and I'm equal opportunity. I have criticism for everybody all the time.
Everybody,
but there's been a lot of criticism to this specifically, and my caution to people that are entering politics, people that are in it today, people that are concerned about narratives. Nothing transcends politics like authenticity. And Democrats error because they are not authentic. And when people authentically, again, have already othered you, they've already othered an issue and made it about and they accuse you of it. That's what I mean. They're easy to flip it on it. Their accusation is genuine. These people are genuine in their accusation, and they're genuine in their hate. You're not genuine in your representation. So shut up. Speak about the things that you are confident on, things that you care about, and get other spokespeople in there to talk about. Don't spend your these. It's performative. And I'm not going to talk about kente cloth and kneeling and praying in the rotunda. I don't have to talk about that type of performance for you to know that it's performance.
Right.
I don't have to talk about so let's not do that. Let's not do that. The reason that you advocate for people, the reason that I advocate for people, the reason that you advocate for people, the reason that I even have ever gotten into the fact or the people game to where is because I care about people. I care about people despite how they are qualified, despite how they are defined, because people are going to define you on their own. So why would the people that are providing you services should never have to? Anyway, that's a different discussion. I wanted to interject here because I think that part of the reason that they will, Democrats specifically, will continue to lose on a culture war that they don't even want to participate in is because they just lie. They either lie or they become performative, and it's not helping. Like you, and I think about it. You know that movie? I can't think of the movie. It's a Queen Latifah movie, and then she died. But the congressman came to her church, and she just had a real issue with him coming to her church and then being in Prague when she went to Last Holiday. That's the name of the movie. It's a message in that movie because it's
a few of them.
The subtle message was this man came in there, performed on behalf, and was making backroom deals with her boss in another country. And then when he realized he thought she was a Black woman with money, he wanted to know, well, how come I don't know you? And why aren't we like these are the types of things that I am warning about, right? These people that you revere, if they're in the back room making deals that don't benefit you, baby, you're in danger. You're in danger.
They're in the back room making deals all the time. All the time. They're in the front room making deals. They were right there on the congressional floor because it took a while for some of the Republicans to even cast their vote today. So they're doing it in front of our faces, honestly. They're not doing it necessarily just behind the scenes all the time. LGBTQ plus protections removed in hiring and public services. And again, all of this is still in Project 2025. So the anti-CRT language, the LGBTQ plus protections being removed, DEI and inclusive training. This is all a part of Project 2025 where they're saying they have to get the woke ideologies. I'm using quotes not to be facetious, but intentionally, because this is quoted from Project 2025. They have to get the woke ideology out of schools, out of the federal government, out of businesses. This is intentional. So all of this is part of the mandates and the mandate for leadership, aka the policy piece of Project 2025. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by any of this, but I'm definitely not surprised by this specific piece because Mike Johnson even said it in his speech today right before they took the vote that they wanted to, again, he repeated it, we have to get the woke liberals out of the way that we do business and politics is essentially what he said. But I'm not surprised by this. I think it's unfortunate that we are losing protections that LGBTQ and Black, brown, disenfranchised, that we have been fighting for generations. Black people and Black women, LGBTQ, we all been trying to fight to get into doors and rooms that we built the table in. I'm not even gonna go down there. I
don't understand. I don't understand how it is that we let we let unseasoned people with a lack of knowledge, lack of experience. And again, this goes back to DNA, most likely, but we continue to let things. I think about the word woke. It's a word that you and I grew up with. It's a word that lives in our community. It's a word that belongs to our community. It's a word that will forever mean what it means. And it doesn't really matter because you don't what their playbook is. If they don't like it, things that they don't like, things that they don't understand, they take them, they try to blow them up. And they do that proverbially. They do it literally. We're just talking through history. So this word they weren't invited to use it. So they took it and they weaponized it and then started to attach it to everything. And so it's kind of like, it's just kind of what they do. And I guess to say that we let them do it is a bit disingenuous on my part because you don't know when they're going to do it. Just like you don't know when they're going to walk into a movie theater, whether or not you want to stay. And I mean, that's just kind of where we are. We constantly are trying to reshape the narrative and recapture narratives that we already know to be true. But it is you just have to know what you're dealing with. You have to inherently believe that there is the common good that you believe may not be so.
Right. Agreed.
That you think that you have the same best interest. And I know they stop me and say, Alex, come on. You're hard. I'm hard on everybody. I'm hard on everybody because it's just necessary. But when it comes to these people specifically, history tells us what has happened. And on the base level, when we're joking about it, okay, we know you've invaded every continent on the planet, initially looking for spices and still serving bland food. That's we're joking about that, but it's true. There's every continent that they could inhabit, they have inhabited and literally taken over. I say this because whiteness is what I speak about. Whiteness all the time. Now, whiteness is the plague. Whiteness is the disease, not white people. Whiteness aligned with white supremacy. Whiteness will kill you because it wants to kill you. It's a thing. These people, a lot of the people that live in this country, they didn't come here white. White is a social construct. Going back to the conversation that we were having at the beginning of the show, that you come into this country and you fall into one of two categories, plus other. They're after other right now. Like they're after other in an insane way. They are looking to denaturalize naturalized citizens over civil, like that is over a parking ticket. And we're getting close. And I'm gonna say that when we get to the end of the show, because that's leading me back to where I want to go. But to your point, woke, all of these things that we have to constantly fight for over and over, it's just not the place that it is, so that we don't spend our time unifying. So until we find ourselves into a place where we can have a unified message and be unified on our messaging, unified on our approach, we're going to find that they're going to continue to do things that divide us, and they find the most divisive issues and then exploit them. So if they know something is going to divide a community, they're going to drop a bomb into that community to do that, or to spark that division, and then say, "Ooh, look at those people," as if. And I'm speaking of things like drugs. Like a lot of drug issues that have happened in this country were because the government went and dropped drugs into those communities, and then said, right, "Look at them. Look what they are doing. Look what's happening to them. How come they can't clean this up?"
Right. And just so y'all know, anyone who's new here watching us, we don't just say things for happenstance. We say things that we have proof of. So if we say something and you don't believe it, you are welcome to Google it. You are welcome to reach out to us and we can send you the receipts. He's not saying anything that they haven't admitted to. We watch a lot of documentaries and we read a lot. So I just wanted to put that out there. I also want to answer this question of how will nursing homes be affected? Such a good question. I'm so glad you asked, because they also will be affected. Some nursing homes are corporate entities. Some are privately owned. Some get federal funding. But also because there's a good percentage of patients who use Medicaid and Medicare in nursing homes to not just pay for food or anything like that, but to also pay for the care itself. So if Medicaid and Medicare get stripped, then some of those folks might not be able to be in nursing homes anymore because they won't be able to afford it, which then puts the burden on the family members because they're trying to go to work to also supplement whatever they're paying for the nursing home, because nursing homes are very, very, very expensive, speaking from experience. So then that puts a burden back on the family, because now they have to have their loved one at home, and now they're missing work because they have to take care of their loved one, because they're not just going to leave them hanging and high and dry. So it really is, we're talking about just the direct impacts, right, of this bill. We haven't even begun to hit or talk about all of the indirect impacts. And unfortunately, nursing homes will get a direct, somewhat indirect hit because of how many people rely on Medicare, Medicaid, and those benefits in order to pay for the nursing home. So that there, unfortunately, there will be an impact there. I hate to say that, but also we have to think about the impacts to different family members. We have to think about, the nurse who has their parent, grandparent, great aunt, or someone else in a nursing home to care for them. It's a good nursing home. Good nursing homes are even more expensive. And now they can't go to work, right? They're missing work. They are, having to call out a lot more because they're having to go to the doctor's offices with their loved ones, or they're having to do more things. But then that person loses their job. So now they don't have their job. They're not bringing money into the house. They can't get the family member back into a nursing home because Medicaid and Medicare has been cut. So it's a lot of direct and indirect impacts, and nursing homes are definitely one of them. Unfortunately, it's again, everything we are discussing has a direct and an indirect impact, and we haven't even scratched the surface of the indirect impacts that a lot of the pieces of this bill will have, unfortunately. So, great question. Thank you for asking that. Y'all keep the questions coming. You're asking great questions in the chat. So, and share it with your folks. Make sure that they,
Definitely.
are watching and they can ask questions too. So that we can start the process of making sure, like Alex said, it's too late to change what's going on in the bill. It's now passed. It's that part is done, but it's not too late to get the information out. So let's definitely continue to do that. Share this, and we'll try to continue to answer as many questions as we can while we're live. Next, return to states. I hate this sentence so much.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Me too, man.
I hate everything about it. I hate everything about it. Because it is an intentional way to try to say, well, we just believe that states should govern themselves. And that is the conservative way to do it. But as this says, a return to states is a return to inequity. Perfect example. Roe v. Wade gets overturned at the Supreme Court level. In the Dobbs v. Jackson decision, 3 years ago, Roe v. Wade gets overturned in the Dobbs decision, and they say, we believe that the power should lie within the states to decide what women do with their bodies. Okay, well, some states had trigger laws. What's a trigger law? A trigger law is that once a decision like that gets made, the state's law that they have on the books already automatically goes into effect. Some states, Georgia did not have a trigger law state, but we did already have the heartbeat bill that was on the books, but it was going through the court systems. And so some states kind of phased in after that. Well, now we have had multiple mothers who have passed away because they could not get the reproductive access care that they needed, including the mother who was just here, who they kept on life support, and her baby was just born against the will of the family. And now they're caring for a child and the mother is gone. So they're having to deal with both of those impacts. So essentially, this is federal oversight being removed across various programs: education, housing, healthcare.
Can you talk about for a second on that specifically? That because we can glaze over it, but I think it's important that when we're in the moment that we focus on that correlation.
Okay. On the correlation of
Roe v. Wade and abortion specifically became one of those things that they weaponized because of ignorance. So
yes,
on the surface level, you hear the word abortion.
Right.
Now, it makes no never mind that this was something that they cooked up to make an issue. Like it wasn't an issue that was it wasn't an issue, but it was cooked up to become an issue in the late 70s. It became something that Republicans led with to start to divide America with, to say, hey, you're a baby killer, and all of these things, where it was really about care for women and health care
Right.
for women and access for women. But if you dumb
Right.
it down, or you dwindle it down to one issue or one wedge issue, then it becomes a passionate issue based on your level of education or exposure. And so now, because this issue is only abortion, or only that, I just believe that okay, it's not about that.
Right.
They can make it about that. You can make it about that. But on the foundational level, this is about whether or not there will be access for the mother to have healthcare when she needs it.
Right. When she needs it. According to her and her doctor, husband, spouse, family partner, whatever.
I should go further
Whoever
to
is
say
in the decision-making space.
decisions being made by men that have no business making them.
You know what pissed me off? And I mentioned the bill earlier in Georgia that would have made it a felony to help or assist anyone in getting and accessing reproductive care. You know what really pissed me off? It was two older white men who co-sponsored that bill, and it was all white men who signed on as supporters of the bill, and I think one or two white women. That's who, which I got my own conversations for the women. But
I'm gonna
the
talk about
rest
that
of
at the
them,
end of the show. That's why we got to hurry up.
you're right. Okay. So this is the return to states, return to inequity. The more you remove federal oversight, it sounds like a good thing, and for some it is, depending on what state you're in. You know, we talked
It's
about
a
red
terrible
state
thing.
versus,
It's a terrible thing.
I'm trying. Okay, if you're in a blue state,
it's a terrible
it's a bit
thing
different
because there's
than if
no
you're in a
way
red
that we
state.
should all be disjointed under different laws.
Now that I agree with, I agree
especially livelihood
wholeheartedly.
laws, right? I get that we live in different. This country's too damn big, so I get that point. I get that. It's too big. You need different laws for certain things, right? Some places have too much wildlife. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? But
when you remove that federal oversight, there are plenty of examples. Roe v. Wade is just one. We could go down the Voting Rights Act. They stripped a piece of the Voting Rights Act so that states that redraw their maps no longer have to send it to the Department of Justice so that it's reviewed, so that they do not do racial gerrymandering. Racial gerrymandering is illegal while political gerrymandering is not. Racial gerrymandering is when they redraw the maps and say, Black people live here, white people live here. We want to split these and we want to make sure that the Black folks vote this way and they can be over there and they can have their little district over there. And, you know, but we want this chunk of land over here. That is racial gerrymandering. That is illegal. Political gerrymandering is when they look at the maps and they say, well, this area tends to vote more conservative and this area tends to vote more Democratic. That is legal. So what happened after they removed the piece of the Voting Rights Act, because they wanted to start removing federal oversight, and the Supreme Court essentially said, we live in a post-racial society. We don't need to have this piece of the Voting Rights Act because folks will redraw their maps equitably. That did not happen. 6 states redrew their maps and all of them needed to redraw them again. The case that the Supreme Court decided would be re-argued in the next October term was the Louisiana redistricting case because it's inequitable. Georgia's map was redrawn inequitably. It kicked certain representatives out of the districts that they were in. So the federal oversight is supposed to be for us. It's so that departments like the Civil Rights Division within the Department of Justice can review decisions like this from the states and make sure that equity exists and that things aren't being done in the rooms where deals are being made behind closed doors that we're not a part of. That is what the federal oversight is for. And so with that being removed, we're looking at a plethora of civil rights rollbacks that could occur state by state by state. They're just going to chip away at it little by little. So this is really a problem. And again, this is a Project 2025 mandate. This is part of their policy agenda in Project 2025. It's intentional. And we cannot stress that enough. If you have not even started reading Project 2025, if we're saying Project 2025 and you have no idea what we're talking about,
it's too late.
One, it's too late. It's far too late. They've been checking things off all year long. But it's not too late for you to start reading it and familiarizing yourself with it. I'm not saying you have to read all 900 and some odd pages that it is, like we sat and did. But I am saying you need to
that
familiarize
you can do the needful and put it into ChatGPT and ask for a summary.
You can do that. That's a great use of AI.
Ask it how it's going to affect you.
And share that with your family.
If Chad doesn't know you, then tell it who you are. Tell it a little about yourself and see. It will go through those 900 pages and say, hey, on page 233, page 555, I think, what state do you live in? In fact, please don't use Google to see if you live in a red state or blue state. Use ChatGPT.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna say that because AI is not getting safe as well. So just go ahead and use that one. We're working on some things that will help you out.
We'll share that later.
But go ahead and use that one.
But look for those keywords, right? You can search the document. If you download it or pull it up on your browser, whatever you do, you can search. If you have a family member that's on Medicaid, you can pull up the Mandate for Leadership, Project 2025, and say, tell me what Medicaid, what Medicaid pieces are in here. You're going to see almost verbatim language from Project 2025 in this bill. And not only is it doing that in this bill, your states might be doing it too. I tracked our state legislature. I haven't seen this much copy and paste of congressional bills at the state level in a long time, maybe if ever, like almost verbatim. And so,
I've been cross-referencing. I will cross-reference everything, and especially things that are coming out from them. I start with Project 2025. I'm going to cross-reference it to see whether or not you were lazy or whether or not you just want to pick up on this bigoted effort because that document is definitely demeaning. That document is definitely, they are saying it is a manifesto of whiteness.
Absolutely.
Whiteness emboldened
all throughout. And we're not being facetious. That's not hyperbole. Like, it is a, how did he say it in Bad Boys? White power. Like, it's
a manifesto.
It is a white power manifesto. It is we are scared that we are about to become the minority, and we cannot have that. So here are all of the things. Some of these things we've been working on since the first Mandate for Leadership we released during the Reagan administration. And some of these we're just bringing up now because we're noticing this woke ideology is growing a little bit too much in schools. They're starting to share certain books with certain ideologies, and we can't have that. And
they're starting to
ask
questions.
They're starting, they're starting
to ask questions.
They're getting a little bit too smart.
They don't believe us.
Yeah, we got a little too smart for our own good, and so now we gotta.
The last time I got hot, my glasses got steamy, so I take them off. Because you we have that left brain, right brain thing going on. I was ending on them running scared, and it's great that we got here when we got here, because if you don't understand what's happening, you should understand that prior to Trump's election, white people were scheduled. They were scheduled to become minorities in the United States by the year 2044. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things that should help you correlate what is actually happening. If you believe nothing else, you can run everything else by that. And I'm sure that it's not 2044 right as it stands right now, in the way that they've expedited the exit of brown-skinned people on this land.
Right.
But part of the reason you can filter all of this through that one lens that they have this, we're giving money for people to have babies. Specifically, they want white babies here. They're upticking deportations, but it's widely known that there are more white people here illegally that overstay their visa than Mexicans that cross the border or people seeking asylum from Haiti. But instead, there's just been an order that overturned over 500,000, the legal status of 500,000 Haitians, so that they could be deported because this country is too brown. Now, they will tell you that, they don't see color. Hate that, because you should. You not seeing color may be the problem, but we know that's not true. But you'll say that with your words. That's a dangerous thing. But they'll tell you that minorities, what did you say? The Supreme Court said but there's no racial inequality.
Oh, we live in a post-racial society.
Post-racial society. Minorities are just as equal as everybody else, but they're terrified of becoming the minority. They're terrified of becoming the minority, because they do believe that we will do what they did to us. And although I would say that the people that walked this planet for a long time may not have had that desire. They may have just wanted to be left alone, or they may have just, wanted some peace.
Imagine that.
I don't think that's the case anymore. I think there are people here now that actually think that y'all should. And again, all I'm saying, I'm putting it out there. I'm not saying whether I can't call who wants what, or what type of revenge or vengeance. I'll take you back to you believe in one thing and other people not believe in the same thing. You're not necessarily on the same page. We're definitely not on the same page as we once were.
No.
We've allowed, I say this all the time, you had a civil rights era in this country, and they killed all of that. They killed the progressive president at that time, and all of this happened in the same decade. They killed the civil rights leader that said by any means necessary after they surveilled him for over a decade, and then the nonviolence.
And they own people to do it.
It didn't matter what the method was, which is why acceptability politics cannot work. You being a good black or a good brown or a good person so that they look at you differently. No, they see you one way. White people know who's white. And I say that's something else. Like they know who's white, and they have a preference. They have, and there's gonna say, oh, I know good. I know we all know good white people. And I'm not saying, I continue to say white people are not the problem. Whiteness is. If white people are clinging to their whiteness,
because whiteness knows no skin color. Be clear.
I got a class called Am I a White Supremacist? It's not for white people.
And that's it. That's all.
It's just not for white people. And so that being said, this conversation continues.
Oh wait, I have.
Yeah, I wasn't rapping. I was rapping.
Okay, okay, because I was like, I still got my complicity that I gotta hit. I'm not over it. Tell me when you're ready.
You got the floor and 4 minutes.
Okay, I don't even need 4. Let me tell y'all something. You mentioned that you had a problem with the church earlier. I am going to give a critique, not just of the church, but of organizations, of individuals, and of any faith communities. If all you have been saying for the last 2 Sundays is we have to pray, you are complicit, okay? I don't want to hear anyone else say, well, we have to just pray and trust God. Well, he can only do what God allows him to do. Well, I'm just believing that God is going to come through. That is all fine and good. And also, I don't know what y'all's Bible says, but mine says faith without works is dead. And I just really believe that at least the God that I know believes that we have the capability to also put forth our faith with our works. You cannot pray and then not do anything else. That's how we got in this situation to begin with. So, to every pastor, to every executive director, to every faith-based person, to every person who's not even in the church, if you haven't sat in a pew in a long time, whoever, whatever, if all you have been saying is you are relying on God, you are complicit and you are part of the problem. Love you down. Not sorry. If that is all you are giving your congregations in this season, if you are not offering resources, if you are not planning town halls, if you are not planning workshops, if you are not planning talks, if you are not bringing in subject matter experts, economists, tax people, healthcare people, SNAP people, safety net people, if you are not bringing in these people into your congregation, into your organization, into your space, planning events, getting out into the community, going door to door. You go to door anytime you want them in your pews. You go door to door anytime you want them to donate to your campaign or your organization. Go door to door with a one pager about how this big, beautiful bill is going to impact their big, beautiful life. Okay. If you're doing a food pantry, put a one pager in the grocery bag that you're giving away to your community members. Do not get in the pulpit or on your stage or whatever else it is that you have and just say, oh, we have to pray. That is up. It's too late. It's too late for that. And that is a very, very, very dangerous message to give to people right now. People are scared, okay? You cannot just tell people who are scared, we just got to pray and we just got to rely on God. That's cute. What are you going to do when their Medicaid is snatched? Are you going to be able to pay for the nursing home that their person is in? Probably not. Probably not. And I'm going to leave that leave all the reasons why for another night and another discussion. My point is, you are complicit if you are also spewing dangerous, complicit language. If you are spewing agreeable language, we just have to wait the next 4 years out. Beloved, this is going to last far beyond 4 years. Some of the stuff in this bill is earmarked for 2036. They are expecting impacts for the next decade at least. These go far beyond what president is in office. So we got to do more than pray, okay? I'm done.
Okay. Well, how do they get in touch with you?
Tiffanie Lanelle on TikTok and Tiff Lanelle everywhere else.
I'm Alex Unmuted everywhere. And this is Black Headlines. BlackAlerts.com is where you can find this show and more. The Black Alerts app is in your app store. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Be sure to follow Tiffanie at Tiff Lanelle on Instagram and Threads and at Tiffanie Lanelle on TikTok.